So last week, of course, there was the big news that Asha Sharma seemingly kind of twisted Todd's arm and said, you're going to go talk to people and you're going to tell people what you're working on. We're not doing this stay quiet for 5 years at a time. We're not doing this whole take 20 years between releases thing. We're going to get our act together. And as a result of that, Todd did a number of interviews. He did the one with Jason Schreier, of course, which seems like it was a pretty small, quick interview, about 20 minutes, I believe is what he said it was. But still, symbolically, it was a big step. He also spoke to Windows Central, did some stuff with Jez Corden over there. And in that interview, they, of course, described how the Creation Engine 3 was what was being used to build out Fallout 5 and the Elder Scrolls 6. And what Todd has started to describe here is a lot of the same language that has been used across a lot of user-generated content, mills, farms, games, platforms, whatever, like Fortnite, like Minecraft, and like Roblox, most importantly. And I need you to remember that Asha Sharma, she comes from the outside. She's looking at what are the biggest gaming platforms in the world, and she is looking at things like Fortnite and like Roblox and finding, or perhaps seeing opportunity is probably how she would say it. She's seeing opportunity there. And so, as you can see, we spoke to Todd Howard about the power of Creation Engine 3 and how Roblox has validated Bethesda's focus on independent creators. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I hear anything related to like Fallout and the Elder Scrolls brought up in the same sentence or paragraph as Roblox, I instantly get heartburn, okay? Instantaneously. As you can see, they describe kind of the broader stuff of what's going on and what they're doing. As you can see, here he gets into the nitty-gritty of it. Creation Engine has always been more of a sandbox play, in my view, designed for extensibility, first and foremost, and rapid iteration on huge scale worlds. It's also designed for modding at its core, with Creation Club members earning over $10 million in revenue since the platform's inception. This is what, I mean, he describes it as 10 million since the platform's inception, which was like in 2018, I think was initially revealed. I believe the statement described it, the way it was phrased in the official statement from Bethesda, or from, no, it was from Bethesda. It sounded like it was actually $10 million in Fallout 4 alone, but it could be, maybe they meant across the whole platform. If it's only $10 million has been generated for modders in 8 years, that's way less than I would have thought. Personally, if it's just in Fallout 4, that would make more sense since that's only like a year or two, but maybe it is 10 million in a decade. That seems like it's not really worth all the headache and drama. But anyway, I caught up with Todd Howard recently to talk about a variety of topics, including how Creation Engine 3 is being leveraged in Fallout 5 and Elder Scrolls 6, and how he's thinking about the platform given the rise of Roblox and Minecraft's own platform extensible features. I think expandable maybe would make more sense. Extensible, maybe that's a British thing. Is that a British term, extensible? I don't think I've ever heard a like American use that word. But to be fair, we don't tend to use words more than like 2 syllables. When we build these worlds, it starts with the tech. A lot of people think engine, they think rendering, but there's so much more that goes into it from a tool side and a system side, like how we sell you paid mods. That's the key for the kind of worlds that we want to build, and also knowing that we were going to be doing Fallout 5, and just how do we do those simultaneously in a way where it's not start and stop. And we're really happy. I can't say enough about our tech team. It's just incredible. Our designers ask for so much crazy stuff and our tech team finds a way to do it. And I think that's really defined our games, where you feel like anything is possible. Except going in a building without a load screen. That's not possible. But if you want to like buy a bag in the game, but spend like real world money on it, we can do that. That is possible. Anything's possible. I'm sorry. Feeling bitchy today. I mentioned the stat Bethesda brought up. 10 million has been paid out to creators. Oh, so he actually mentioned it to Todd. Maybe I guess it does mean, if he didn't correct him, it does mean 10 million has been paid out in the Creation Club program across games like Fallout and Starfield. And Todd doesn't correct him, saying that's just for Fallout 4. So I guess it is 10 million in close to a decade that's been paid out. That seems low, does it not? Like, granted, a lot of the creations are free. Yes. A lot of them are like $1, $2, $5, whatever. But that seems low, does it not? Am I just am I being unreasonable? 10 million across 8 years and like a bunch of games doesn't seem like a lot. Like, I think it was, what was the stat on Black Flag Resincts? There were some stats on the like microtransaction sales, because it was something like, you know, a 6% attach rate on a lot of these DLC items that were, I think it was the map DLC that's like $5. 6% of people who bought the game bought the map pack for $5, which is crazy. That was just on Steam, so maybe on console it's more or less. But yeah, here we go. Reese from Linear Analytics did this. Okay, yeah. So for Black Flag Resynced alone, just on Steam, on its like first day, it sold more than $1 million in day one DLC. The DLC bought by units was $5 map pack with a 6.34% attach rate. Every $10 pack landed at just under 2.65%. Still, 2 out of 100, 1 out of 50 people bought at least one of the $10 cosmetic packs, like 1 in 50. And so on the first day, they made $1 million in Black Flag Resynced with those cosmetics and stuff. So 10 million paid out to creators over like 8 years and multiple games seems shockingly little, but anyway, continue on. I mentioned the stat that Bethesda brought up. $10 million has been paid out to creators in the Creation Club program across games like Fallout 4 and Starfield. Given the rise of Roblox as a user-generated content juggernaut, I asked if these industry shifts have informed how Creation Engine 3 will show up. Quote, if you go back, something we've been super passionate about since we sort of started this run with Morrowind, I was adamant that I wanted Elder Scrolls construction set to come with the game, like as a separate disc, and we've been doing it for decades. We have a creator group that have been doing it for decades. It's what kept games like Skyrim alive for after 15 years, which I do think is true. There was a super chat that you guys sent in. Oon Knight said, with a very generous $20 on YouTube, said, quote, let's face it, the only reason Fallout and Elder Scrolls are still alive is the modding community. The modding community fixed Skyrim when it launched, broke, and embarrassed Bethesda into fixing their mess. Bethesda have always been lazy. I think that the modding community has always picked up a lot of the slack. And unfortunately, when you know that someone's going to be there to pick up your slack, you're okay with leaving it slack. You know, when you know that there's somebody following behind you, picking up your crumbs, you don't stress too much about not dropping crumbs. And that's just kind of what's happened over 20 plus years of this, is that there are regularly things in these games that could be added by the core team before launch. Could be a mandate. We need this by launch. And they just don't bother with it. I mean, the fact that even today to play Fallout 4, you have to like have a pretty healthy loadout of mods to avoid a lot of the persistent technical issues that exist within the game. Like to this day, I am not joking, on Fallout 4, if you try to play it on PC without mods or any extra tweaks to INI files or anything, you just play it vanilla. If you run it at too high of a frame rate, the animations break. Like your character will run at 2x speed and the physics sim breaks because it ties the physics sim to the frame rate. What? The game's over 10 years old and they still have that problem. What are we doing? See you guys. How dare you? Caleb with 5. Breaking news. Out of touch rich finance bro. 1%er Luke Stevens thinks $10 million is nothing and not worth the effort. Does he hate brokies? Yeah. And then also, where did it go? Not only is Luke a rich finance bro, he's also 6'5" and yeah, and shredded too. Shredded, totally ripped. Confirmed, Luke doesn't think $10 million is much money. Yeah, anyway, it's crazy that Fallout 4 to this day still has bugs and things broken in it that they could have fixed, but they don't. And they don't because they know there's already mods that fix it. So if you really care, you'll just download the mod. Who cares? Why would we spend time doing that? Why would we fix our game when they're going to fix it for us and then we don't have to do that? Yeah, and but it's because Todd, they might sell the fix. So then we have a problem in our game and then they have to pay to fix it. Yeah, but we get a cut of that. If they buy it through Game Pass or one of our primary platforms, Xbox takes 30%, we take 40%, the modder gets 30%. So they get some money, some kickback for fixing this problem for us, and then we make 70 cents on the dollar. Why would we fix it? Like, it creates an incentive to never fix anything. It really does. He continues, it harkens back to when you played D&D and you can make your own adventures. That spirit of creation. It takes a lot of different flavors. So it's really about supporting all those different flavors. I think we're in an awesome spot with creations with verified creators, and they're getting that revenue. It has risen all boats. Free modding too, with those things being more popular. You see people who maybe they were hobbyists on the side now becoming professional, and the content they create, maybe then the content in there blows us away. They just do an incredible job, and for some now this is their career, and that makes us ecstatic. Yeah, because you make money on all of it. Why not? Yeah, that similar change now revolves around a lot of user-generated content in a lot of ways. Roblox is now bigger than Steam and PlayStation combined as creators build out entire games and worlds and build entire businesses inside Roblox itself. The Creation Club was a pioneer in that space to some degree, along with Minecraft, giving modding community ways to turn their hobbies and passions into careers that pay the bills. This, I think, is the reason why in the official main statement from BGS described creations as like one of the very first things that they were focused on. Like, it was one of the very first things that they outlined. I'm gonna actually pull it up and we'll do it live. We'll do it live. Like, this is where it is. So you can see Starfield Continues was the first thing they said. But prior to that, they also described how they wanted to give creators a bigger role in shaping their experiences. So that's what's driving us forward. We're invested more deeply in the worlds players love. Okay, so Fallout, Elder Scrolls. Giving creators a bigger role in shaping their experiences. That's user-generated content. User-generated content is just what Roblox is, to be very clear. Roblox, of course, is freaking gigantic, but it is a game platform basically that's built around like all of these mini experiences is probably what you call it. So like this will make you feel so old. I'm just going to show you, okay? I'm just going to show you. I'm going to take one for the team, and I'm going to search Roblox. Okay. I'm going to get inundated with all this. I love how top videos. What is Roblox? Why do people play it? Roblox is this platform for a bunch of 40-year-old people to try and entertain children. But beyond that, they...
Not your friend. And I found the most cursed Labubu games in Roblox. Can we survive all three? Let's see. Starting with Be a Labubu, Brain Rot. So you start as this itty bitty, creepy, and cute at the same time. I still don't know.
She has 6 million subs. What's this one?
Guys, today we're playing Animal Hospital, but
he has 10 million subs.
We have mods. I'm in the game, right? And I have a lot of things I can do in here. So first of all, I'm rainbow. What the heck? There's rainbow animals. So yeah, this is literally just Animal Hospital. Looks exactly the same, right? We got mods though. So look at this. We could skip shifts right here if we wanted to. We could skip 5 shifts. We could skip 50 shifts. That takes you like 2-3 hours to get through. So that's pretty crazy.
Okay. Well, it's a bunch of mini games basically. So people build out games within Roblox and then you can load into it and then play those games. I played Paint My Keyboard in Roblox. It's like a separate mini game. Okay. And then they've got these. There's like all these different game modes. Dude, I feel so old. Roblox mukbang game. He has 12 million subs for this, fam. Like, I'm in the wrong business. I'm in the wrong business. Okay, so it's just like all of these bright, flashy colors. It's clearly designed for a younger audience, okay? But it gets views. This video has 3.8 million views. But this is what it is. So Roblox builds a platform, and then they create a bunch of games for these in these different, like, I guess, viral potential tranches, and then like the creators promote it for free, because they get crazy amounts of money from ad revenue on all of it. And it's freaking massive. If you don't realize, like, because it's outside of our normal bubble, I just want to show you this, okay? If I expand this out, the all-time player peak on Roblox, which is one platform, one game, like it's just its own thing, was 47.3, we'll just round up 4,000 people, 47.3 million players. Do you guys happen to know the all-time peak on Steam? It was 42 million. The all-time peak on Steam was significantly lower than the peak on Roblox. Okay, Roblox, yeah, and here I was thinking that Roblox was stupid. Like, the point of me bringing this up is that Roblox is freaking massive. So when somebody like Asha comes in and is looking at the gaming business, she's looking at this. She's saying, how do we get them kids? She's looking at this. She's like, how do we do that? How do we do that? Because that's huge. That's a huge deal. Okay. You'd see also they have to track daily active users by age. The blue bar represents over 13-year-olds and the green bar represents under 13 years old. Like 40 million under 13. Like, this is where all the kids went. They stopped playing console games. They stopped buying Switches. This is where they are. Okay. So when Asha's trying to figure out where do we go? Where do we spend money? Where do we invest? She's looking at user-generated content. She's looking at stuff like Roblox. And for her, on the Xbox side of things, they have a few platforms and a few places where they kind of have user-generated content. They've got Minecraft, which prints money for them, and is also very popular among the younger generation. But they also have creations. They also have this platform within Bethesda games for user-generated content, different game modes, potentially, eventually, they could do that. And I think that that's where she's going to put a lot of investment, is that she wants creations not to be cast aside as paid mods and microtransactions. She sees, I think, creations, and so does Todd, as a potential to start to play into this like Roblox area where like you could have Fallout 5 launch and it's got the battle royale mode that you can play with your friends, and then it's got a separate mode which is the Fallout settlement simulator where you have NPCs that you have to juggle and assign to different houses and manage their routines. And then there's another mode within Fallout 5 that allows you to play like a hunter mini game where you go out and you just hunt in Fallout 5. And then of course there's the story mode, but it's mainly about the user generated content. That's the same exact thing that built up GTA Online, was user generated content and races and stuff. I think, Fallout prop hunt mode. I think that's what they want. I think that's their vision for the future of all this. And that's why I think that they don't want to, and they never will, scrap the creation engine, because all of their tools for this have been built on the creation engine. So moving and scrapping it would represent a massive loss for them. So why would we do that? So I think the user-generated content is just, I think that's the North Star. I think that's the one that they're looking at as inspiration. They like the idea of having another platform, another place for people to go in and treat as a platform. That seems to have been Todd's approach with a lot of these IPs, to build them into platforms. That's what Fallout 76 has been. It starts to make sense when you look at it and you're like, why does Todd constantly tell people who like the narrative games, go play Fallout 76? Like, we have Fallout 76, go play that. It's because he wants it to be like their Roblox for Fallout. Like, he wants that to be the place where you go, you can play some of the story missions, or you can just go do some raids with your friends, or you can just do the settlement building and base building and stuff. Like, you just go wherever you want. Treat it like a platform. That's what they want. I think that that's the vision. And once I read it and I realized like, oh, I think that I think all of this is just a big push for user generated content to be built out. It made sense. I'm going to be honest. It kind of all clicked together in a very depressing way, because I think that's exactly what they're going to do. Yeah, live with the consequences. It's true. Hugo, thank you for the 5. I play Elder Scrolls games vanilla. I just love the lore and would appreciate anything. Books, comics. Well, hopefully you get a treat soon enough. It's just, I think, again, their vision is for these games to be like, Elder Scrolls becomes kind of generic fantasy as a platform for everybody with creations. Because every year when they've done expansions to games, like their big announcement for Fallout was that they were adding creations to Fallout 4. With the anniversary update. That was like their big push, was to add paid mods. That's where they're putting a lot of their effort. I mean, they could have spent that time making sure the update didn't break VATs. They didn't do that. They put the effort in building out the in-game store, So I think that Elder Scrolls is going to 6 is going to have creations on a whole other level. I mean, I think that's where a lot of this effort's gone. That's just how it is. Can't Asha release Fallout London officially? Theoretically, probably. Like if they went and bought out the team and bought out the project, and then they went and did that, like, I guess theoretically, but I don't think she would do that. Like at this point, is it worth the hassle? It's a free update. It's a free mod right now. So like, what would be the benefit of a user going and doing that? Because she wouldn't do that and then release it for free. I don't think so. I think she'd sell it to you for $20. So I don't think there's a lot of incentive for them to do it. I saw this tweet from Jay, who is a Starfield fan, talks about it a good amount on socials, but posted this one. Since Starfield launched, one of the biggest requests from some players has been the ability to take off from a planet and fly seamlessly into space without a loading screen. Personally, it's never bothered me much, but for others, it has been near the top of their wish list since day one. Now, thanks to modder OX or 0x Bobby, that dream is much closer to becoming a reality. Seamless planet takeoffs is now available in beta on Nexus Mods. It's a brand new and still rough around the edges, but this absolutely one to watch as it continues to improve. And here's a little snippet. I mean, it shows you.
Pumping retros. Orbit achieved. Stabilizing.
Stabilizing.
Done.
Todd. Bobby did it. Third person test. Okay. Bobby built this in his garage in a cave with a box of scraps. So, bro, I remember when the game was still in the marketing phase and they hadn't confirmed anything about it. A simple question, like, can I fly my ship from this spot over there? Can I just move my ship? Because my whole point, I remember we were looking at it in the pre-marketing or in the marketing phase. It was like, what if I see a point of interest way over there and I don't want to run? Because remember, there was no rover at launch. So it's like, can I just fly the ship over there real quick so I don't have to run for 5 minutes? Like, nope. But that was a super controversial thing. People were telling me in the comments, they're like, no, Todd's going to reveal that is in the game, but he's not going to do that till like launch because he wants it to be a surprise. Now. Okay. Little transition. Not bad. I don't know if it despawns the planet behind you or if it is able to cover it up. I'm not sure. I did try to download this mod. It is available on Nexus. Did not work. It did not work. It caused my game to persistently crash. So I got to delete everything and reinstall. We'll try again another day, but it does seem like a cool idea at the very least. Bo B. Ross has a YouTube channel where he posted some of these tests trying to build it out. And of course, it is rough around the edges. He's not claiming it isn't. And this is not final release software or anything, but it proves that it is technically possible, in the purest sense of the term, to get this working to some degree, like to be able to actually go in and get the warp effect achieved, as he's got here, where he's taking off from the surface, aims up at the sky. And I'm not sure exactly how he's doing it. It might be like, it's a smooth transition. So he keeps the skybox the same, I guess, and then warps you. But it's not clear if this is actually like if you were to warp to orbit or if this is a separate like intermediary orbit map or fishbowl that he's made to transition into. I'm not exactly sure how it works. Again, I wanted to test it myself, but couldn't get it working. But it is technically impressive that he was able to get it working. As you can see, like the little mod versus vanilla comparison to show this. And we've looked at these over the last few years, actually, since Starfield launched, looking at some of the mods that people have done. There's been some where they've gotten, full seamless traversal in the map's cells working. So like you're able to go from one cell to the next, warping between the two. It still has a bit of a stutter because it is loading between them, but it covers it up fairly well. I've seen worse. And you can see right here, you then warp into orbit, and in this case it just goes here. But again, like I said, I don't know if this is technically a secondary cell that's been created. But either way, kind of cool. Kind of cool. So there are still some modders that are trying to salvage it as best they can, and I wish them the best of luck, and I wish they would get more direct support from Bethesda, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Won't fix a boring game. Well, that brings us to our next discussion, my friends. That brings us to our next discussion. Because with this reveal of an interesting mod, this also accompanied a post from Synth Potato that got a lot of people talking and retweeting and sharing their thoughts, okay? Synth said, Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5 are confirmed to be running on the creation engine. This means they will very likely both still require loading screens when entering interiors. I think this is one of the biggest weaknesses of Bethesda games. It really does feel outdated. And then, you know, just accompanies a little video showcasing what this looks like when you're exploring in Neon, where you go through, and even just loading between zones of a map within a city requires load screens, okay? More notably, it's anytime that you travel between cells, you have a load screen. That's why I've said before, like, the load screens are not a death knell. I mean, it is not like the worst possible thing in a game. The problem is Starfield just happened to be like the worst possible layout for a game when it comes to exaggerating the loading screens, because it was just all fast travel all the time, and so you just spent most of your playtime in load screens, it felt like. But bro, this post ignited a firestorm of people agreeing and disagreeing and raging and freaking out. Some of the comments are I think legitimately interesting and constructive, but it more than anything started a discussion around the creation engine more generally. Now, as we went through earlier on stream, I don't think they're getting rid of the creation engine, because I think Asha wants to double down on the creations system, because she sees it as a venue for user-generated content to basically turn Bethesda games into mini Robloxes, mini Fortnites, mini GTA Onlines, and sell you those mini editions every step of the way. So they're not going to get rid of Creation Club because it's the platform upon which all of that has been built. But I do think that there is a valid discussion to be had around different features or limitations of the creation engine, because as we've seen, there are ways to overcome some of these restrictions if it is clear to the team that these need to be a priority to overcome. There was at launch for Starfield debate over whether like the 2, 3, 4 minutes of running between points of interest on a map was a big deal. It's crazy to think of now that that was even a debate, but it was, because basically when you loaded in, you'd land at the center of the fishbowl, and then there'd be points of interest scattered and spawned across the map. But the problem was the only way you could get there was by running on foot to each one. And so by the time you run between each of these, you know, this might be a 5-minute run. This might be a 4-minute run. This is like another 5 minutes. This maybe only took you 3 minutes or whatever. But it's like 20 minutes when all is said and done of you just running with nothing to find between these points of interest. The only points of interest are the X's, but there was no other option. Later, after the feedback was resounding, BGS added a rover, which was a great addition. It was a really good one, and I think made the game better, frankly. And I think that that is good, and they deserve credit for it. But that's because the feedback was resounding, and they realized they needed to add a rover to take this from like 3 minutes down to like maybe 30 seconds, right? So still not ideal, but certainly way better. So with this, I think it's really important to have these conversations and to debate it so that the discourse can potentially generate change. Wow, they added something there that should have been there at launch. Well, unfortunately, one of the things that we've seen, and we'll talk about it a little bit, I think that there is a lot of, there's a lot of maybe glazing and also at times cushioning that happens with every IP, to be clear, and with every studio. We've seen it with like Ubisoft, where people excuse things that are bad there because they like another thing within it. So like, you may love Black Flag Resynced. I really love it too. I think it's a great recreation of the original. However, selling a $5 map pack, I didn't like it back in the day. I don't like it now. And it's okay to say that. I don't like gigantic, $10 skin packs at launch in the in-game store. Like I just don't like that. If I could choose, which one would you prefer, with or without? I'm choosing without, right? Just because you like a piece of it doesn't mean you have to like everything about it. Doesn't mean that you have to pretend like it's perfect. You know, I can love Red Dead 2, and I can also acknowledge that it's stupid that it only runs at 30 on PS5. You know, like that's crazy. Or in terms of like core game design, I can love Red Dead 2, but I can be frustrated that like the inventory management is like abysmal, and sorting stuff out in your satchel is like a migraine inducing nightmare. Just because you love something doesn't mean that you have to pretend like it's perfect, right? But within these comment sections, there are some interesting tidbits. Jez, if I don't mind it, if and big if the sandbox elements it supports actually get utilized, the trade-offs weren't really apparent in Starfield or Fallout 4, given how little your choices had meaningful impacts. Jackson said, I wonder what kind of additions we can expect from Creation Engine 3. Feels like the most notable stuff Starfield added was volumetric lighting and scale of the worlds. I think it's going to be a lot of user-generated content, and I think it's going to be a lot of hopefully improved like AI behaviors and NPC behaviors. That would be my hope. But I think what is also interesting is that people brought up some of the posts that have started going around from the revelation that Obsidian is going to be working on a Fallout project. Specifically, this little snippet from Josh Sawyer started going around again, where if you're not clear, this is like original lead of Fallout New Vegas, and he's going to be in charge of the next Fallout project from Obsidian as well. And this is him talking about the Creation Engine.
This engine, I'm not saying this because I will criticize other stuff in Fallout 3 and 4. This engine is incredibly easy to make content for. Look into my eyes. Without Gek and without the pipeline of this engine, we never would have finished this game in 18 months. This is the best content creation pipeline of any game that I've ever worked on. Easily. It's buggy. You're right, it's very buggy. It's buggy and unstable, and it's frustrating, but it's incredibly easy to make content for. Like, no one's gonna sit here and say like, no, dude, it's not that buggy. Like, yeah, it's pretty buggy, but it's fine. Like, that's a trade-off. The Gek is it's a fast tool. Searching is super easy. Finding references to things is super easy. Scripting is very powerful. Iteration loops are super fast. Like when I test something, I'm like, or when I build something, I'm like, oh, I want to test that. Incredibly fast iteration loops. Awesome. The only shortcoming of the tools was the dialogue tool, and we built our own dialogue tool to sit on top of that. And that was fine. Like, it took a little bit of investment for us, but that was it. Like, that was fine.
To be clear, this is an older video, and of course he's talking about New Vegas, which was built in like 2009, 2010. So we are talking about a much older version. To be very fair, I mean, he's talking about a version of Creation Engine that existed back in, 16 years ago. So it's certainly much different now than it was back then. Just like if you were looking at Unreal Engine 3 from back then, you'd be like, yeah, Unreal Engine 5 is a different beast. In some ways better, in some ways worse. But it is interesting, and I think it's important to acknowledge this. As I've said, there are things that Bethesda's Creation Engine does. Other engines don't even try to. I would argue they don't try to because no one really gives a shit. I mean, it's like for memeability, it's fun. Like there's this clip, for example. This is something I don't think Unreal Engine could do. Being honest. Yeah, it was Gamebryo back then. Yeah, I think they rebranded to Creation Engine. Was it Fallout 4? I forget exactly when they did it. But anyway, this is something, having a crater full of blocks of cheese. You could not do this in Unreal Engine. Does anyone care though? Like, is it technically true? You will not be able to do that in The Witcher 4. Yes, I think it's true that you will not be able to have realistic cheese physics simulation in The Witcher 4. You got me there. But as with all game design, I'll use a term from Todd. Okay, Todd has said this before many times. We've seen interviews where he said it, where Todd has said, we can do anything, we just can't do everything. All of game design, all of design just in general, is about picking your battles and choosing what's important to you, what's not important to you, and then going from there. Yeah, you can see it's all blocks of cheese. That's what this is. It's about picking your battles. Creation Engine has picked a number of battles that it's very good at. It's really good at physics sim. It's really good at detail persistence. So that's something people bring up a lot, is that like you can kill an NPC, they drop to the ground. And because that fishbowl, because that cell is sort of its own isolated, almost like its own isolated save in a way, they can save that scene with those NPCs laid in that positioning, with the loot how it is, with the cheese blocks how they are. It can save that scene in that fishbowl, set it aside for later. And so when you come back, that fishbowl has been preserved, right? Even if after all of this, he blows up the cheese and it gets scattered across the lunar surface, he'll be able to come back and rediscover the cheese in that same layout. I'd like to think that he had to end the video there because it crashed. That's what I'm choosing to believe. Like, that is something that's cool. My perspective though, and this is, I think, the feeling of a lot of the people, and this is where like the gap starts to happen, is that things like this do not actually meaningfully contribute to improving the quality of the types of games that Bethesda seems to be making. Like, cheese sim is cool. Does that make Elder Scrolls 6 better? Like, there will be a viral video that goes around, gets a couple million views, of a guy that's like, I decided to try and collect every wheel of cheese in Elder Scrolls 6 and hide it in my house. And then he just cheats with console commands and spawns 1,000 cheese rolls. And it's like, I did it, subscribe. That video will do 2 million views. That'll be fun. I can't wait for it, okay? Spoiler alert, I'm gonna make the video. But will that make the game better in a tangible way? I'm not so sure. Like, if you had to choose between that, cheese sim, and seamless exploration, which would you choose? You know, that's a separate question. That's a separate question. There's been some of these videos that have gone viral, and they were made, like, these videos were made to be funny. Like, people made these to just meme. RDR2, if it was made by Bethesda.
Shopkeep across the ways myself.
And like, they're doing this like it's to meme and be funny, but I think that this demonstrates why seamless exploration in an open world game adds to the experience. Like, you see what Red Dead 2 would be like if you had load screens at the same places that you do in a Bethesda game. And it's like super jarring and weird. Like, some people would get used to it and parts of the game would still be phenomenal. But like, if you took away Red Dead 2's phenomenal writing, and so you just ended up with kind of mediocre writing, mediocre questing, and like a lot of other things that people don't find particularly exceptional. And then you also add in these technical drawbacks, it starts to just kind of kill the momentum. It kills the vibe. Do you want to fast travel? Gumaz did a number on this one. Do you want to enter this town? Dude. And then the frame drops in combat. They put the FPS counter up top. It's so dirty, dude. They did them so dirty. But it's funny because it's true. Okay, it's true. Now, to play devil's advocate, okay, there are people that seem to like this. It's Jabo says, nah, I disagree. I love the separation of outside and interior cells. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if this is a joke. I don't know. Jabo says likes dumb ideas and dumber videos. He might be memeing. I don't know. Like 3,000 people liked it. So is this a joke or not? I don't know. Is he being a Poe? I don't know. Maybe he's being serious. I can't tell. Yeah, Poe's Law. Literally, is it somebody being dead serious or somebody memeing on somebody being serious? I don't know. You can't tell. Swerve said in a very vague way, most don't understand the actual power of the creation engine and what it does for gaming. This feels like an AI response, because what does that even mean? What it does for gaming? What do you mean?
Caleb's92 donated $50 through Super Chat. What you're missing about the chess's sim is that allows NPC actual LT hold a weapon and drop it when you kill them. It's
Okay.
not just a line in NPC inventory. In
Okay.
combat, you fools RO it away.
So, it doesn't know how to read Fusroda, stupid AI. In combat, you Fusroda it away. You disarm an NPC and they see the weapon and can pick it up. Well, first of all, thank you for the 50. That's very, very generous. That's outrageous. Thank you, Caleb. I will thank your mom as well when she comes in chat. As for I just realized if people don't know the inside joke, they're gonna be like, why is Luke talking to his mom? But as for that, yes, it does allow for things like the guns to be dropped and then physically simulated on the ground. That's true. That's something it can do. That is true. I would argue other games can do that too, where they drop the physical weapon. Most games just don't allow you to pick up the weapon that's dropped from the enemy because it breaks in-game economies if they let you pick up every single thing and sell it, which is like Red Dead 2 doesn't, for example, it's top of mind because I was playing it last night. But like Red Dead 2, you can loot enemies, but it's not like you can pick up every single enemy's revolver, every single enemy's clothes, strip them down and take their boots and then load it on your horse and sell it at Saint Denis, because it would break the in-game economy. It would just break everything if you allowed people to do that. So they just don't, because it's a game. They got to put a line somewhere. And so Bethesda, on the other hand, does let you go in and loot everything and pick up everything, and it's physically simulated and all that. That is true. It's just a different design philosophy, I think. Yeah, different philosophy. But I think, so there's this one. Again, I'm not really sure what he means by what it does for gaming. So this might also be a troll. I don't know, man. A lot of these I can't tell. Reply Addict, I think this is also a bot account. I think, because it's Reply Addict and just says professional, should poster mention merchant replying, so you don't have to. Apparently just like replies to everything. I don't understand. People still don't get it, but that's just object permanence is what makes their worlds feel alive and reactive. I mean, most games and worlds feel reactive because of NPC behaviors and system behaviors. Leaving a wheel of cheese on the ground and coming back later for it is cool. That doesn't scream living world for me personally, but okay. You can drop items anywhere, like cheese. Build crazy cheese wheeled shrines. See, do you see why I feel like this is might be a troll? I can't tell anymore, dude. I can't tell. They're actually like straight up describing it as like a feature of the engine is that you can drop items anywhere and build cheese wheel shrines. I'm joking when I say that. This is serious. Leave the world in whatever chaotic state you want, and it stays that way. No other game, Cyberpunk included, has fully captured that level of true persistence without compromises. Well, it brings the question, so if no other game is doing it, why? Is it because the creation engine is just so far advanced of everything else that they didn't do it? Or is it just a matter of, like Todd said, you can do anything, we just can't do everything. And those other teams are choosing to do other things instead. And I think that's what it is. If they wanted full persistence, kind of like Star Citizen level persistent entity streaming and stuff like that, they could do that. But like, does it truly matter for the types of games that you're making? And this is where like a core piece of this discussion I think is important to just acknowledge. And maybe this is a hot take, I don't think the creation engine will honestly feel as bad as it did with Starfield when we get Elder Scrolls 6. I don't think it'll feel that bad. Because I think for most of the time you're going to be out in the open world, walking around, exploring. And when you enter a castle, there will be a load screen. When you enter into a building, there will be a load screen. That will happen. When you enter into a cave, there will be a load screen. But I think because most of your time is going to be outside exploring and doing all that, it's going to feel much less constant. The reason it was a major problem with Starfield is because Starfield was almost built in a way where they wanted, like, you were forced to interact with load screens constantly. Going from planet surface to orbit, load screen. Going from orbit to a space station, load screen. Back to from your ship into the space station, load screen. Within the space station, you enter another area of it, load screen. You warp back to your ship, load screen. You go from your ship into orbit, load screen. You go from that orbit onto another planet, okay, load screen. Like constantly. It was like the worst possible layout for a game that was trying to, if you wanted to hide load screens. And I think it's just simply because they didn't think it was a big deal. They played it, they didn't think it was that disruptive. But now, what do people instantaneously think of when they think of Starfield? They think load screens, unfortunately. And that sucks because I think there are pieces of Starfield that are legitimately really cool. I will defend till the day I die that ship customization system in Starfield, freaking awesome. I love being able to build your own ship, customize it, even with the layout being fully reactive, building different habs and layouts. I freaking love that. And it's awesome. I think it's boring. Well, to be clear, that's another piece of this puzzle, which is separate from all of this, which some people have acknowledged. Razorwire mentioned their biggest weakness is their dog water narrative design. I'll happily put up with load screens if the stories and characters are compelling and human. Well, and this is kind of what's interesting about like seeing Josh Sawyer talk about Creation Engine, or well, specifically back when it was Gamebryo. But with this, of course, one of the strengths of New Vegas, nobody's ever said that like the technical aspect of New Vegas was its strong suit. It like the gunplay's ass. The data streaming is like so slow and sluggish that it regularly drops frames when just walking through the Mojave and through the desert. And then it also sometimes just randomly crashes, unless you have a bunch of mods installed to fix that stuff. But then also beyond all of that, it is like a buggy disaster through and through. Nobody's ever said that technically and technologically New Vegas was ever that impressive. But what made it stand out was the writing quality. What made it stand out was the world building and all of the other human stuff that they added to it. When we look at stuff like the Red Dead 2 half joking, half serious comparison video, what makes this really, really interesting to just think about hypothetically is like, honestly, ask yourself, if Red Dead 2 just put in load screens between rooms and between buildings within the open world and cities, which is what Starfield does and what Creation Engine typically requires. If they did that, would it fundamentally make the game bad? Would it just make it a little less amazing? Like, what would that actually do? If every time you wanted to go in the bar, you got to go through a load screen. Personally, I still think the game would be amazing. I think we'd make fun of it for the constant load screens, and it wouldn't feel as premium. It wouldn't feel technologically groundbreaking or cutting edge. It would feel outdated because there's other open world games that don't need to constantly do this. But it would still be a phenomenal game because of the writing, because of the world building, because of the performances in the motion capture and in the dialogue and everything. It would still be phenomenal. But that's the point, is that it has all of these other amazing strengths that would make up, I think, for the weaknesses. The problem and the reason why most people are truly frustrated by Starfield is that it didn't really excel at anything. It's why in my review, I said that it was just the most quintessential meh game like ever, because it was just meh. It just didn't really do anything great. It did the ship building and ship customization was great. I'd give it that. That's the one thing it did really, really well. But beyond that, and some people disagree with me on that one. I don't know how you disagree on that. I think it's awesome. But everything else, it's like pretty mid, you know? So I think that the narrative design is a major component of this, and it's important to acknowledge for sure. Going and looting everybody, of course, classic. You got to do it. You got to do it. You're carrying too much to be able to run. Yep, that's also classic. Is it the end all be all? No. But I think that it's just one more negative, one more con in the stack that gets bigger and bigger. Loading screens exist for a real technical reason here. They let the game actually remember your impact on the world. Again, I think the reason why other studios don't care that much about persistent cheese streaming is because they realize that players react much more positively when like NPCs behave more realistically, when the world is more immersive and more streamlined, so that you can actually just get lost in it without constantly being broken up with load screens and stuff. I think that makes a much bigger impact on the average player's enjoyment of a game than persistent cheese streaming, personally. I'd rather quick loads than losing that immersion any day. The trade-off is worth it. And I respect the opinion, my friend. I respect the opinion. But I would argue that part of the reason why this has been so exaggerated is because of the type of game it is. John Linneman actually responded to this particular post and said, I think the issue is that this doesn't work very well in a game like Starfield due to how the game is structured. So you wind up seeing loading screens more than actually playing. Loading screens were largely a non-issue for older titles, and the world still felt immersive. Exactly. Totally agree. King Zeno, I would gladly remove the ability to collect all the cheese wheels in the galaxy just to for being able to seamlessly walk into a town, then into a store with no loading screens. I think most people are probably in there. That same boat. I think so. But yeah, it's an interesting discussion. And I think that with all this, I think that this is hopefully a piece of discourse that Todd is paying attention to. He recently did an interview where he said that he has been reading Reddit. He actually posted to Reddit r/games just 3 days ago, said, hey, Reddit, I'm a professional lurker and read all your comments all the time. Read your comments all the time. Many here do, and we deeply appreciate the passion for our work. I know I don't really post and we're usually very quiet. Today's info was an attempt at changing that and letting everyone know what we've been working on the past several years and a look at what's coming. So no, we're constantly listening and keep telling us how to be even better. You'd be surprised how many great ideas I get from Reddit. Probably. That scares me hearing that, but okay. So upvote your favorite and we'll do it. Maybe top upvoted comment. So no, we're constantly listening and keep telling us how to be even better. Thanks, Todd. Please get Virtuos to keep patching Oblivion and give it as much love as you guys gave Skyrim, because it feels abandoned right now, which is a shame. Yeah, it's still apparently broken if you play it for more than 25 minutes, which is crazy. But yeah, apparently it's still broken. Oops. But I think that all of this is interesting. I hope that Todd's actually listening to the feedback and they are working actively on overhauling a lot of this. But as we've seen, there's plenty of people that are willing to just hand wave away a lot of these technical concerns because they say that the overall game is worth it, which I'm not sure if I personally agree with the sentiment. I personally think that I'd much rather get rid of cheese streaming in exchange for seamless exploration, but there's people who clearly prefer the cheese. So there you go. He took my thing.